Welcome to the Grab Lives podcast, everyone. I'm your host, John Vargas. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe to Apple, YouTube, and Spotify platforms. It is so helpful for Grab Lives and also just your support. So everything we say and do on this podcast platform does not reflect the views or the opinions of the City of Los Angeles Fire Department. And I just want to let everyone know that moving forward, this is going to be season 4, and in general, looking to have new guests on, and I'm always running into random people that just fall down my path that need to be on the podcast. So stay tuned for a lot of great guests coming forward. And for today's guest, I have Tim Fisher, who is an engineer at OCFA. He's a really good friend of mine. He actually helped me start the podcast. He helped me set up the cameras and how to edit and all this stuff. He's been so helpful at the beginning of starting Grab Lives, and it was awesome to have him on. He's also a host of Let's Go podcast, so that's why he knows all this stuff. I've been on his podcast a few times talking about my journey in life and so forth, but it was really nice to have him on the podcast. He is a tiger, so tigers are all about the big show. They put on a big show, and Tim is a really big man. He's got a really big heart, and he's got a really fascinating story about the struggles he's had in life and through the job. And, sometimes we just have to go through that in order to turn our life around. So Tim's a great friend, and he was even part of the cadre members at one of my fire academies a while back. So, Tim's a wealth of knowledge on the job as a firefighter and also just as a man living in this world. So stay tuned with this episode, and I love you guys. Take care.
It's time for Grab Lives.
All right, dude. Tim, thank you, brother, for coming on.
Yes, of course. Thank you for having me. Been a while.
Yeah, man. And so if anyone knows, they don't know probably, because Tim kind of showed me the ropes of podcasting, and a lot of people have gone to Tim and be like, hey, man, I want to start a podcast. And, at the beginning, I just did not know what to do. And so I asked Tim a ton of questions, and, he came, and actually you were here recording one of the first video sessions we had. We set up the cameras in my house, and then
that's right. Yeah. When you got all the cameras in. Yeah, I remember that. I remember helping you wire stuff and all that. But that was a while ago. But you've come a long way, man. This whole studio looks really good. The sign, and I think it was good that you got the lighting. A lot of people don't understand with podcasting, especially introducing video. There's so much behind it that they don't see. The work and the engineering for the sound, and then getting the right angles with cameras and lights. And so it's a lot of work. So when walking into here now and seeing this, I really appreciate it. It's like, dude, this is pretty dope. You did really well, man. I like the sign. Where'd you get the sign made?
I got it on Amazon. There was just a company that you basically put whatever image you have, and then they give you the dimensions of what you want to order. And then,
that's so cool. Yeah, it looks good, dude. Yeah, I'm proud of you, man. Seriously. I mean, it probably sounds weird to say that, but
no,
it's like people don't understand the work and time it takes to get this done. So I walking in here, I appreciate it. I'm like, my man, very good.
Yeah, I just had my last episode I did with another podcaster. Okay. So I love podcasting with other podcasters.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
100%.
There's just a different dynamic with talking, knowing when to kind of stop talking and allowing someone else to talk. That makes sense.
You kind of get the flow of a conversation for a podcast. And I've had, we've taken a year off from the podcast since I had my daughter. I wanted
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. We're actually pregnant with our second. My son will be here.
Back to back.
Yeah.
Back to back champs.
Well, that's what, my wife at my daughter's 1 year birthday, she came up to me. She's like, by the way, I'm pregnant. And I was like, what? Already? I'm barely used to the one. So, but we're excited. It's super cool. And I wanted to take that year to really enjoy being a father and having a family and understand the importance of the gift of having a child and a wife and a home and the things that I have. And I talked to Jordan, my co-host, because he had just had his third kid. I'm like, hey, dude, let's take a break. Like, and not even just from the podcast. There was other things that I've been involved in. I was like, hey, I'm stepping back.
Mm-hmm.
My family's going to be number one. And that's what I want to focus on right now. And if the podcast doesn't come back, well, then it never comes back. It's all good. Like, it is what it is. And I don't want anything to ever get in the way of my family. To me, that's the most important thing. And now having that year off and kind of relaxing, and now we're having our second, it was like, people were kind of like, hey, can I come on the podcast? I want to do this. And hey, you guys coming back? And I'm like, man, I guess let's bring it back. I think it's time. I'm feeling pretty good. And it's been nice to enjoy my daughter. And that's just, man, it just changed me as a man. It softened me up, and I feel wealthy beyond what possessions or money could give me. So getting the podcast back up, I think we just finished the studio. I showed you the pictures of the whole new studio that we have, and that big V custom desk that we made and everything. It's super cool, and we got a whole new system. So we're really excited about it. We got quite a few guests that are going to be coming on lined up. And then we did a documentary for, firefighter mental health. We cycled pretty far, and that's going to be kind of intertwined with the podcast now too. So it's been good, dude. But taking that year off was just needed, dude. It's good to be able to like know when it's time to like take a break. Sometimes I feel like people don't understand that. You don't need to always be hustling. It's like,
yeah, 100%.
It is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of my colleagues, other firefighters, they don't know how to prioritize family. A lot of times they feel like a sense of guilt around that. Mm-hmm. And for men who do, prioritize their kids over work, I really admire them. So because I think that we had it asked backwards, the way everything was handed to us, the way the torch was handed to us. Mm-hmm. And I've seen a lot of different generations of firefighters, and a lot of them, they just didn't know they're the breadwinner of the family, and they just worked all the overtime, were never home. Yeah. And I've seen the repercussions from that, from their kids not wanting anything to do with their dads, because their dads were gone their whole life and missing. And then, their behavior when they would come home was like, oh God, dad's home, and like, we got to act a certain way. And it was like, the Nazi regime would be almost,
100%. I mean, that's how it was with my dad. He was a career Green Beret. When he was home, it's like, oh, dad's home. But I mean, I see what you're saying, because I think a lot of us fall into that in the fire service, because we're sold this like golden nugget and give back to the department and, rah. But really, the fire service does take a lot from you, not just emotionally and physically, mentally, but your family suffer, to be gone for, at least where I work, it's 2 days on, 4 off, but really it ends up being like 3 or 4 days on and a couple of days off. And I've seen that with a lot of colleagues as well, where, it's all about work. And, for me, what I have 18 years on now, it's like, I kind of came to this realization over the past 3 years. And, the reality of all this is like, we should do good with what we're given. And we should strive to go after the things that we feel called to, or if you want to call them, dream jobs, or what, being a creative or an artist or whatever it's going to be. But, there also has to be that realization, like, your job isn't who you are. Your job is a way to provide, right? The money is just an asset and a way to live comfortable and buy things and survive. But at the end of the day, when, we're all out of here, because the reality is, none of us are making off this earth alive. I can't even take my bank account, my homes, the podcast, my cars. I can't take any of that with me, And so I remember thinking about that, and also kind of coming back to my faith. But, we went to my station is close to this big church called Cottonwood. And a few years ago, they asked us to go to a firefighter funeral of a guy who died in retirement from cancer. So it's job related. And he had 2 years into retirement, and his daughter got up there, and she was probably in her late 20s, maybe early 30s. And she said the last 2 years have been the best that she's ever had with her dad, because he wasn't always at work. And you can feel that room just like the wind gets sucked out of it. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude. Like, wow. Like, I don't want my daughter to say that. I told this to a guy at work. I said, if I get to the end of my life and you guys are at my funeral and people are only talking about the fire service, I did something completely wrong. I want to be known as a man of my faith and also a good husband and a good father, because I wasn't a good man for a long time and I prioritized my job over everything. I was a selfish human being. And it's like nothing could fulfill me. But now having that faith, but also like your family and how, your children are truly a gift. They're an extension of you and your wife or your husband or whatever. And to see them, it's like, oh my gosh, like it brought this love out of me that I'd never experienced. I long to be home. I want to be home. I don't want to be stuck at work all the time. I don't want to work the overtime. Now, the reality of that is we have to work to provide. Inflation's gone up. Things are more expensive. Certain departments haven't gotten raises. So, it's tougher to make ends meet on top of home prices being ridiculous in Southern California. But for us, I think there definitely needs to be a realization of finding that fine line of working enough, but also being home enough. Because your kids don't care about how much money you have. They don't care about how big your home is. Like we were just talking about that. I was raised with 5-6 people in a 1,400 square foot home in Lakewood. I didn't care. We just had fun. We were outside playing all the time and in the house. And so it's been a kind of like a good, it's almost like my eyes got opened a little bit, and I do enjoy my career, but it's not my identity. It's not, I'm not defined as Tim Fisher, the firefighter. There's so much more to me that people don't know. I'm someone who loves to be creative. I love to cycle and surf and skydive and do all these other things. And I want to make sure that I'm present in my children's lives, because that's the most important thing. It really is. Because now it's almost like when you have kids, for me, I told somebody this, you have skin in the game. Now it's just not me doing my own thing, whatever, I can go spend money, do this, or go travel here, do that. Now it's like, I'm responsible for this human soul, this life here. And I want to be present. I want to be home, and I want to enjoy the moments. And yeah, you know what? Raising kids and having a family is not easy. It is hard. There's times we come home from work and I am dog ass tired, but that's not my daughter's fault. I chose to be in this career. So I'm going to come home. I'm going to put a smile on my face. I'm going to be happy to see her. And the times where it's like she's getting up at night or crying. And, I remember telling my wife this. I said, I really catch myself and make sure I'm enjoying these moments, because it doesn't last forever. I mean, it goes quick. My daughter's 16 months now. And on my, our iPhones, it pops up memories, from last year. And I see it and like, I find myself getting all choked up. I'm like, oh my God, my little girl, she's getting so big. And even like my son getting here, like we're into the second trimester. He's going to be here soon. I'm like, man, this is all flying by so fast. And I don't want to take it for granted, because really these moments and these times with my daughter and my wife and then my son coming, I have found them to be just so precious and so important. And it's brought so much joy, and it's really centered and grounded me a lot, So even to the point now, I leave for work in the morning, I'll wake her up. Oh, I gotta go. I hug her, and now she's starting to grab and cry. I'm like, no, don't do that, please. Like, I don't want to be there either, but I gotta provide, So there's a fine line. There really is. And unfortunately, we see that in our career. And I think I made that mistake definitely in my first marriage, is prioritizing everything over my marriage and family. And that you want to talk about a massive mistake for anybody. Do not prioritize your career over your family. Like, there will always be another promotion. There's going to always be another overtime. We have the opportunity to make as much money as we want, but really, like, what's the money going to do, right? It's cool if you have a big bank account and have nice things, but it doesn't mean anything, right? I mean, at the end of the day, like, again, I have yet, John, to see a hearse pulling a bank account to the graveside. I have never seen that.
It's actually emptying it out, to be honest.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, dude.
So it's just like, again, it's me. I try to find that fine line. Work enough, but be home more. And there's sometimes I'll work more because, like, hey, let's go. We want to do this, or we're going to fix up the house, or whatever. We got to work on this other property. So yeah, there's times, but I mean, that's so unique in our career field anyways, that we can just be like, hey, I need to fix my restroom up. I'm going to work 6 extra shifts over the next 2 months and we'll pay for it,
I think the big thing is mandatory overtime, where that's where some people are really like, we're having that issue right now in our department.
Okay.
And I know other departments, like guys I know who work in Long Beach.
Yeah.
They they work 9 days straight.
Oh, it's terrible.
Or 9 extra days on top of their assigned shifts. And we have it not as bad where even like LA County, like they work a lot. And if they don't work those days, you get fired. So there's some negotiations going on with our union and our city, and it's a pissing match, to be honest. Like so it's kind of hard to watch and
can they really? I've talked about this with people. Like in any other job, can you really get fired for not picking up an extra shift? You know what I'm saying? Like
it depends on there's California labor laws,
right?
And then there's other things that come into accord, like you sign documents coming into that agency.
Okay.
So I've heard of people getting lawyers with.
Yeah, that's what I would think.
With this, and it seems to be a problem for sure because, look at the last, 5-10 years with this epidemic of firefighter mental health, right? And then they will say, oh, we're doing something for this. And then on the back end, they have, okay, well, here's all your mandatory overtime shifts, even though you guys are all burnt out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the first time in my career I'm seeing people leave the fire service with 12, 15 years on. Like, I'm going to do something else. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing too.
Oh, dude, I've seen it at my department. And the mandatory is tough because, mentally you're thinking, and a lot of times, let's be real, it's like when you're about to get off, it's the day before, like, hey, you can't go home. You're like,
right.
Dude, like what? Now, if it was planned a couple weeks out, like, okay, we can kind of work things out, right? But it's that last minute. And then not only is it hard on us, but now your family suffers. And, for people who have two parents that are working, that starts to get difficult. Mm-hmm. And now we're seeing a lot of troubles in marriages and issues, and then kids are acting out, and dad's not home, mom's not home, So it's the mandatory is that, I haven't seen it this bad since I've been hired. I mean, it's definitely changed a lot. But I don't know what the solution is because we try to talk about it with our unions and stuff, but a lot of departments, they don't care. They want meat in the seat. You sign up for this job. It is what it is, right? And you're like,
meat in the seat.
Yeah. You're like, geez, dude. And I think about that too, because as a driver, I brought
you're an engineer, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I brought this up to a chief. I'm like, hey, so, it's interesting when we're driving to strike teams, I can only drive 8 hours when we're going there. And then we got to switch out. Yet you guys can force me into a 96 and I've had a total of maybe 10 hours of sleep. And you're like, oh, well, go for it. Mm-hmm. And like for most people who don't know, like the engineer, that's the one spot where you can be held civilly liable. I get in an accident and kill somebody, I could lose my job and go to prison. And it's happened. I read it every year, and we have stories in our engineer academy. We show people like, hey, do your checkout because this happened. Don't be amped up and blowing through red lights. This guy went to jail. But what happens when you have an engineer who's dog-ass tired, who's on the tail end of a 72 or 96, and he's been working at busy stations, and he's falling asleep driving? Like, can he go home? Can he just be like, I'm done, I can't? Are you going to fire him because he raised his hand? He says he's too tired to drive? I mean, that's a safety issue. He's driving a 40,000 plus pound piece of equipment, code 3, the most dangerous driving you can do. There's 4 people lives in your rig on top of the citizens. I mean, I've gotten in my rig after working like on the tail end of a 96, and I'll tell you, bro, we had a call at like 2 a.m. I swear I couldn't see. I was just like, I pulled out and I pulled the maxes. The captain's like, what's wrong? What are you doing? I'm like, bro, I need a second. Like, I am so freaking tired. Like, I can't see. I feel nauseous. So there comes also like, where's the safety aspect in that? Where do you draw the line? Because the reality of that, I do get in an accident. The department's going to protect the department. They're not going to protect me. Like a lot of people want to be sold out in the fire service and this and that, but you got to remember you're a number.
Yeah,
and if you screw something up or whatever happens and you're too tired, whatever, like you think they're really going to protect you, your union can only go so far.
Well, the machine's going to keep continuing.
Oh,
like all those gears, they're going to keep moving because it's a well-oiled vessel that's been created by man.
Yeah.
But these, bleeding hearts that are stepping in and being like, hey, I want to serve my population. Well, that's generally, you ask all these, if you interviewed every single person, they generally, that's what they wanted. They wanted to be of service to others. And, but now you have these bleeding hearts that are like unable to have the proper voltage to even beat properly. So like over time, this machine will just squeeze you dry, and like, I think it's a general great conversation, like something like this. Be like, hey, it's an important factor of safety. Safety is number one, right?
Oh my gosh!
Until
yeah, exactly. I mean, we have what is it? Our station 22. Dude, these guys, we have 3 rigs there, and they're
what station are you at?
I'm at 2s.
Okay.
So yeah, this 22 is there in South Orange County, and they're they're each rig is running.
Tim works for OCFA, by the way.
Yeah, baby, let's go.
Go to 22.
Yeah. Yeah, they get 22s. They're running like each rig, well, besides the truck, the 2 engines there, they're probably 20 plus calls a day, all night. I mean,
yeah, what district is that?
So what happened? What's that?
What district is that?
Oh, that's oh my gosh, they're down there by like a leisure world down there.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? It's
like Seal Beach, LaSalle.
It's not that one, but it's what am I forgetting right now? Gosh, it's South County. But it's busy because it's like this huge like leisure world. It's even bigger than one here over in Seal Beach, and that's why they're running all these calls. But I'm like, so what happens to those? You know, I'm just speculating. An engineer who's tired, and he's, you know, our tradition is you get hired, you know, an overtime or forced. If there's an opening at your station, you trade out because you know the person who works, so you know the area. Well, everyone's going to trade out with those guys because no one wants to work 22s, so they get stuck on a 72, 96. They're dog ass tired on 2 hours of sleep. And then they get an accident, like, well, whose fault is that really? Because you're the ones forcing them to work. Mm-hmm. You know, so there is a safety aspect now, but how do you address that? You know, it's a tough one because you do something for one, you got to do for all, right? We know firefighters, they're going to work the system.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so they're going to find the loopholes and do all those things. But and on top of that, like, dude, the leading cause of cancer is lack of sleep. That's your number one carcinogen. Lack of sleep destroys you. I mean, it leads to Alzheimer's early, dementia, Parkinson's. I mean, you think of just your cardiovascular system because we never go into REM. We never heal. And you're running on empty all the time. I mean, dude, you're taking years. This job takes years off your life. Like, there's no badge of honor being up all night running medical aids. I'm going to tell you right now.
In LA City, we call them bone runs.
Oh, I'm going to use that. Yeah, so dude. Good. Yeah, where guys are like, oh, we're at the busiest day. Bro, you're running 20 calls on belly aches. Like, well, okay, good for you. Like, you realize you're killing yourself?
Yeah.
Over a job that doesn't care about you when you're gone? And I told it to a guy, and he got so freaking upset. It was a younger dude with like 5 years. Oh, yeah, we're up all night. I'm like, you guys didn't have any fires. Relax, dude.
There's not many slow stations in LA City. I'm sure for you guys. Sure, I think maybe some OCFA guys got some slower spots.
You know what? We were talking about this the other day. There really isn't. I think this is everywhere. I don't think there really is a slow station much. We got like 1 or 2 Coto de Casa 8s. But even my station was known for being slower. But dude, we average probably 10 to 12. I mean, because we got a few nursing homes that are around us and other things, but. You know, the general public doesn't understand. Like, to me, the 911 system is broken, and mainly because we're like the dumping ground and entry level medical care for everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, my stomach hurts. Call 911. I'll get seen faster. You're not going to get seen faster. You're going to get put in the waiting room because you're not dying. So we keep going on these calls that, you know, I'll just be able to say it, but they're truly not 911 worthy. You can go to an urgent care or go to your scheduled appointment with your doctor or whatever. But even to the point, like these nursing homes, bro, they're calling us at 1, 2 in the morning to pick people up.
Yeah, the worst.
It's terrible. And it's getting better because we had someone in the department go over and talk to these people because it's like you're false advertising to these people and their families. They're paying, like most of these nursing homes, they're paying $12,000 plus for people to be there. And then you leave them on the floor because they fell out of bed. You don't know if they hit their head or whatever it's going to be. And yet they're just sitting there and no one's going to pick them up. And they tell us, well, we're not allowed to touch them. You touch them all day. Like, we're not here to pick people up. So it's gotten better. They're picking them up now. So it's brought our call load down.
I was assigned to a station that had 11 con homes in one district.
Oh, dog.
So dude. I was, dude,
no.
There was a time where I had walking pneumonia for a month. I would always get sick because I was always going into these acute centers and constantly just around. And this is before we used to wear masks, you know?
Oh yeah.
And it was a tough station, man, to be at. Those con homes are pretty rough.
It's rough. That's where I would say a majority of most people, a lot of these calls are coming from. So it's just a different time and culture, man. People call for the weirdest things, man. And you're kind of like, why are you calling 911? But if we complain or we say something to a chief or whatever, it's like, well, this is your job. They call, we haul. It's like, all right, whatever, dude.
Well, this is a general conversation every single department has, right? Like, about this 911 broken system. And I think generally, like, the algorithm is all based off liability. That's number 100%. 1. So 100%. It all is about people being aggressively, I guess, leaning into, like, I'm going to sue you because you didn't do this for me.
Right.
So, and a general population concept too, like the population has increased by tenfold when it was, 10 years ago. So that's also increasing call volume. Mm-hmm. And then you have liability, and everything we do, like everything I do as a paramedic, as a firefighter, is based off my liability and policy.
Right.
So a lot of times with these bleeding hearts, going back to that term, because I think it's a great term. So you have these bleeding hearts, right? Going in, putting their gear on, having no sleep, to what end, you know?
Yeah.
And then, so I think that's what gets us so just rigid and disdained for, burnt out, you know? So all these things add up, and what's left, you know, you really don't have much that's left. And I think over time, there's not much that's being done for like building new fire stations, because people don't understand the increase. Mm-hmm. What's going to sustain this? You know, at some point it's going to pop. This pimple is going to pop. And the infection is just going to spew out. And splash everyone right in the face. But what does it take? Well, what is that infection? Suicides? You know, what is that infection? Bankruptcy?
Yeah.
So I think that's really, we have to wait for it to pop. And unfortunately, you know, the people that are in the mud have to just be in the infection for a little bit. And waiting for it to brew to the surface. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, man. It's sad, because that's how things change in the fire service, right? Something has to happen.
Yeah.
It's like, it's weird how it's like we suggest to get ahead of the game by, hey, why don't we do this? This will help here, or we can do that, and that's going to alleviate this. It's like, no.
Well, think about a pimple, right? Yeah. If it's not ready, you start squeezing that bitch, and
gets red.
It gets red, and it's not ready. And you get like that fluid that comes out, and it's not there yet. You got to wait. Just wait for a second patiently until it's the right time, till that head starts to come to the surface. And now you're ready to pop that bitch, right? So I think that's a great example, because we have a tendency to force when we're not supposed to.
Yeah.
And we sometimes it's just best to leave things alone and let things kind of manifest in its own time. Yeah. Which is for people who are upset, you know, it's going to keep going and rising to the surface, you know?
Yeah. Well, I tell, we get rookies every once in a while, but even newer guys, I would say less than 5 years or whatever, working, and, you know, they'll be upset because, oh, this is happening and the union's not doing it, department this, blah, blah, blah. This is BS here. And I always tell them, like, look, dude, we're at the operations level. There's nothing we're really going to be able to do. Just come to work, take your piece of the pie, do your job, take care of your crew, and go home. Take care of your crew. Just take care of each other, and let's try to have a good time. Because we could sit here and what if all day and be upset. No department's perfect. There's always going to be some type of issue. But at the end of the day, we're here to serve people. We're here to serve each other. We want to make sure we all get home at the end of the day. So to keep a good attitude, let's keep the politics and all that BS out. Let's just come to work. Let's have a good time. Let's go to our training like we're supposed to do. Do your freaking target solutions or vector solutions, whatever they call it now. Stay below the radar, and then do your job, man. And then just, you know, the system's the system. It is what it is. You know, we both work for big departments, and, you know, we're just numbers, dude.
There's a lot of LA City guys who've gone to OCFA.
Dude, we have a lot of LA City and Long Beach. Long Beach and some other departments. And it's really interesting to hear some of the stories and how their work experience, let's say culture, or whatever you want to call it, is like OCFA is nice, dude. It's like for our day to day, it's pretty cool, dude. I would say it's pretty low key as long as you do your job. You know, do your trainings, go do, you know, the tag or whatever it's gonna be. But as far as our day to day, it's pretty dope, dude. It's not too crazy high and tight, which is nice. And you can tell, like I talked to one guy, Rob. And he was at Long Beach, but dude, this guy was on like he was 28 on high blood pressure meds, high cholesterol. What? Oh yeah, he wrecked two. I think he said he wrecked two rescues because he was so tired. He's like, they didn't care. They just, you're forced, work again, keep working. It's like,
they do it a lot. Long Beach.
I am so tired. Like, can I get a break? You know. So, but it's always like this whole, we're the best department out there wherever you're at, and you got to do this, and you got to give back to your department. Like, I can't stress this enough. Your fire department does not care about you. Like, maybe the guys on your crew and all that, and everyone wants to pull in the culture of the fire service. But, my greatest example of this is we had an engineer who I got promoted with. He had a heart attack, and he passed on a fire. And it was a bummer, and it was tough. And, we did the whole funeral thing and the rigs and all that. No, not even 2 weeks later, somebody was promoted into a spot, younger, cheaper. Department moved on. No one's talking about him now, right? Maybe we think about him. It's a bummer. I think the year anniversary came up, but it's like, there's your great example. Like, when you're done, you're done. Like, you're replaceable. And do you want your life to be remembered as someone who just gave it all for the fire service when no one's going to care when you're gone? Like, another person's going to come in and do the same thing. And I said this to a guy at work. I'm like, okay. Because he was like, we need guys to work, all this stuff. I'm like, cool. Who was the training officer back in 1996 in OCFA? Oh, I don't know. I was in grade school. Oh, cool. Okay. Who's in the burn cadre? I don't know. Oh, okay, cool. Who's the assistant chief? Who made the top 2 rescues or whatever, or got the Medal of Valor? I don't know. I'm like, exactly.
No one cares.
No one cares, dude.
Yeah,
like, do your job and do it to the best of your ability. And anything that you do, always give 100% and do well. But I really caution people on making their identity whatever your career is, because it's passing. One day you will not be there, and you're going to be an afterthought. And I see a lot of personnel who retire that I've known, especially from my previous department. They have a hard time retiring. They're like, oh, I miss the guys, and no one calls me, and this and that. But it's like, dude, it's a job. I mean, you're gone. You've been replaced. It is what it is. And it's just hard for people to grasp that because of how we're taught the fire service is.
Right.
We're a family with this and that, and which is true, I think, on, in some aspect, but you have to be real careful. And we're not seeing the numbers as far as people applying for this job anymore, which is pretty interesting. That's changed a lot, I think, everywhere. Whereas we used to have thousands of people coming out. I think we only had like 350. I mean, it's just not as sought after as a job anymore. And I don't blame people.
Right.
We're not getting paid like we used to. Back when I got hired years ago, I remember guys had like river homes and their boats and this and that. Like, our money went farther. Now, inflation has gone up, but most departments haven't caught up with that. There aren't raises, and even I think, I don't want to give a number, but we have a large amount of people who live out of state.
Same.
And doesn't bother me. This is what it is. But, we had a few chiefs that complained about it. Well, they should be here. What about callbacks and this and that? And I'm kind of known for speaking up, speaking my mind, but I'm like, I live down the street in Long Beach and I don't answer for a callback. I was like, that's my time. I'm not giving you my free time away from my family. You guys need help or some big events going on. Okay. But it's like, I hate to say it, but I'm off duty, bro. My family's priority. So when I come back on, then I can get stuck. Maybe that's not popular with people, but the guys living out of state, do you blame them? I mean, where I live now, where I'm living, at least that house that I have, dude, the median price in my neighborhood is $1.2 million.
Oh, yeah.
That is ridiculous. 100%. That's a middle-class neighborhood. So what firefighter, 10 years or less, let's say, has enough money to buy $1 million home in a middle-class neighborhood? And at that, they're going to be fixers.
100%.
It's not going to work.
Yeah.
So do you blame them for living out of state or farther away? It is what it is. You want them to live local and be available. Well, you should probably pay us more so we can live local. I mean, I'm set and I'm good to go because I've gotten the fire service early and, bought my homes and investments and stuff. But I don't know how people make it now, dude. It's absolutely wild. Like, my wife and I, the house next to us was for sale, and it sold for like 1.2 million, I think 3 years ago. Dude bought it cash. Super nice guy. He came from New York.
Bought it cash?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Gangsta dog.
Wow.
He's actually a pretty well-known actor, but I'm not going to say who it is. He's out here just for his family and stuff. But
wow.
We did the numbers, right? Like, oh, well, if you put 20% down, but the mortgage was $10,200.
Mm-hmm.
How is that going to work? It's impossible.
And in property taxes.
Yeah, add on the property taxes. Then add on your utilities. And okay, I need a roof, or I want to redo a restroom. It's impossible.
Impossible.
So I don't blame people for living out of state. On top of our freaking taxes in the state, we're taxed the most. I mean, let's be real. My paychecks are cut in half. if not more sometimes. And then if I work more than like 2 or 3 overtimes, it doesn't even count. They take it all, so it's like, geez, man.
Yeah, in LA City, we say work more than 2 or more than 3, you work for free. Dude, I have a whole list.
There's so many things.
I got a whole list of LAFD nomenclature.
I love
it. It's like, if you don't work for LA City, you don't know these terms.
Yeah.
And it's so funny the way it's years of over 120 years LA City's been a fire department.
Yeah.
That's been passed down from these old, Vietnam vets and World War II vets, and this stuff has just been ingrained in the culture. But LA City is a tough one too, because there's so much politics involved with the city.
Dude.
So we got to deal with the political regime. We got to deal with budgets and things like that. And we thought, all of us believed that the Palisades was our saving grace. And as soon as 6 months passed, the Palisades, no one gave a shit, dude.
No, dude.
It came down to like more politics. It came down to, switching around of seats and for the chief's administration and all this stuff too. But in the end, like I always tell people as well, like, hey, focus on yourself, fix your responsibilities, like own up to your own stuff.
100%.
And as soon as you kind of manage that in itself, like your life will begin to change. And a captain did come one time to the station, was telling us, like, because everyone has these same gripes, right, at the kitchen table and these conversations. And what he said is like, the only thing you're responsible for is within these walls. And that is so true, dude,
100%.
because that's it. That's all you got. And if you don't take care of each other, then no one will.
Right.
And that's the cold hard truth with that.
Yeah.
And, this last year of 2025 was a lot about like identity reconstruction for myself and seeing what I identify with. And yeah, it's tough, man. It's shocking to see what you identify with when you have some introspection around identities, around just how you perceive life.
100%.
And the job never was an identity for me. It was more like a role I played to just come into the station and just do my job at its best ability.
Yeah.
But it's been skewed with each station have their own culture as well, right? And their own field of how information's being relayed between one another and trying to decide, like, how are we going to do this together within these walls? And some stations, they make it way more than it is, and it's like,
oh God, I know, dude. God's gift to the fire service, dude. So to LA City or OCFAB if we weren't here,
So I did want to shift this conversation because I know we had talked before about the lithium ion batteries, and you were kind of involved with that.
Yeah.
And that was one of the conversations I really wanted to talk to you about, because that's been a huge issue for LA City.
Oh man.
And just we had a guy breathe in some lithium ion battery stuff, and he's got like really damaged lung tissue and doesn't know if he's going to come back to work. And so, like, just for people listening who don't understand the risk we're putting ourselves into now, even more so with these lithium ion batteries, like every single time we go into work now, it's even more of a risk because of these things. And they're everywhere in these motorized electrical bikes, inside homes that are being charged.
Yeah.
So I did want to hear a bit more, because I know your department they had like a Tesla holding facility or something like that. You were saying?
We have a few large facilities in Orange County that house those lithium ion batteries.
Okay, got it.
And we've had quite a few big fires because of them. I've been on a few of them, and even vehicle fires. And so I was the assistant field training officer for 3 years. So I was up there with training officer. We were putting out training, working on SOPs, first due guide, all that stuff. And once all that lithium ion batteries and EV vehicles are getting like a huge push, that's when we finally started to think, hey, we need to change something here. And so with the other chiefs, we kind of came up with what's going to be like our protocol, our first due guide of what we're going to do when we go on these lithium ion batteries, whether it's a Tesla or in a facility. Because we had to retire a captain. He took a breath, hit a one, he was done. And even recently, there's a guy that I work with. He's going to be retired medically, an engineer from being on the LA fires. And we have a few more people off with lung issues. I mean,
from Palisades.
Yeah, think of all those lithium ion batteries and plastics and things. When we're on those vegetation fires like that, you're not wearing a breather.
No, I was at the Palisades. I had lung issues after.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I had to detox my lungs. I went to a certain guy who knows what he's doing.
Okay.
And so I was able to, but I was coughing up like black shit for like at least 3 months.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, unfortunately, most of the people who were like in it and they were, because I've talked to the guys that were on my rig that went, they're like, dude, both sides of the block were just raging. We couldn't see anything. We're breathing all the smoke in. They're like puffy in the face. But you're going to
some good videos to show you from that fire.
Oh, dude, you got to show me. Yeah, there's going to be, I hate to say this, but there's going to be more personnel from multiple departments going down. When I say going, I'm not saying dying, but as far as they're going to have some serious medical issues because the off-gassing and smoke burning, from those fires are so incredibly toxic for you. So that's why we wrote and came up with in our first 2 guide, when there's a vehicle fire, it's pretty much, dike dam divert, uphill, upwind, lob water on it, and that's it. Call it good. Don't get up in there and be all up in the smoke, and we make sure everyone has their breather on. But, I mean, it's not worth anybody losing their career over a vehicle or over a battery that's going to be replaced. Why try to be aggressive and get in there and be like, hoorah, look at me putting out fire when you're killing yourself. So these we had a fire, I want to say a couple of years back, and I think it was in South County. It was a place that was housing these batteries, and it was full on. No one goes in, let it burn. And then I remember I think I actually drove the foam tender out. That was the first fire we used, our foam tender, and that's when I connected to a truck, and we just freaking dumped foam inside this huge building, dude. It was hilarious because I was a little nervous, right? Foam tender is easy. It's just a manifold. Right. And all I'm doing is pushing buttons percentages, right? And flowing it through to the truck. But I was like, I'll start with 4%, right? Hit 4%. Dude, there was like vehicle size foam just flowing down the street into Dana Point.
Oh, really?
I was like, I'm going to go down to 2%.
Well, the thing about these in LA City, a lot of these batteries are housed in apartments. People will stack these batteries inside these small little apartments, like a 100 by 100 little small studio, because they're recharging those like e-bikes or even the e-scooters. So we'll go on these small little 1-room fires, and it could be career ending for someone. Oh yeah, and you're done. Like there's nothing you can do about it. So it's like every single time we have to put our breather on. On any potential car fire as well. It's the same thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's pretty much because of these batteries, I can tell you so many fires that I have been on when I was training officer, even now being engineer, where somebody had an e-bike plugged in, and next thing you know, their whole house is gone. I mean, my wife, I was looking into one of those electric cargo bikes, right? Where you can put 2 kids in the back and like seats and ride around. And I was like, hey, when we get this, like, that's going to stay outside and be charged in the backyard. Or if we put the bike in the garage, I'm taking the battery out and it's staying outside, like in a box somewhere, because there's no way we're going to lose our home over this battery thing. And it's not going anywhere. It's just going to continue to grow, and everything, especially in our state, everyone wants to go green, right? So they're pushing battery and electricity and all this. And, for people going on these fires, whether it's, a structure fire or commercial or vehicle, like put your freaking SCBA on. It is not worth losing a career or getting cancer later on down the road or anything else bad happening to you just to put out a fire. Like we have 30 years to go fight fire. You're going to get plenty. But if you don't take those proper steps in the protocol, even decon, like we have a whole decon now, we're pretty much after a fire, we're probably out of service for 2 hours where we take our gear on scene, take it apart, separate bags. We leave it there. They pick it up. Then we go back. It says take a cold shower, clean up, wipe everything down in the rig, all that, your SCBAs. And then once everyone's good to go and changed, we're back in service.
Dude, we don't do any of that shit right now.
Oh my gosh, you have to. Cause like they put me in charge of the cancer program when I was training officer. And I would go to these symposiums, and that's when I first learned that lack of sleep is the #1 carcinogen. It's just, it's killing you.
Yeah, 100%.
It's absolutely killing our personnel. And it's sad because we do get in this job because we want to make a difference, and it's exciting, right? When we go to work, we don't know what we're going to get. Every day is different. But as you get years and years and years on, to where I'm at, I'm like 2/3 done with my career, and you start realizing like, well, I have a family now. And again, like I said, like having a child, I have skin in the game. Like I want to live. I want to make sure I'm here. I want to see her graduate high school and go to college, get married. My son, the same thing. And if you don't take these proper steps to protect yourself and do the decon and, be aware on scene of other lithium ion batteries, this and that, and on top of reading the smoke, like you may look like a badass and be cool and dirty and all that stuff. And you fought fire and your helmet's dirty and you didn't wear your breather, but that's cool. You might have just taken 2 years off your life, or you probably just gave yourself cancer 10 years from now. For what? For a fucking job? And I hate to be so like crass about it and say that, but it's sad. It really is, because this is a good job, but it'll kill you. And you don't even realize these silent killers that are going around. And, I talked to a female from another fire department. She was listening a year ago or so to a couple podcasts, and she had messaged me, and I gave her my number, and she was talking, and she was talking about the cancer stuff, because she only has like 7 years on, and now she's got ovarian cancer, and it's linked back to work and fires and things have been on. And I was like, well, say, hey, look, I'm not one who's sexist. I'm gonna tell you right now, but all these symposiums and things I went to, like the females, you guys are like 400 times greater than the males in the fire service to get cancer.
Yeah.
Like, you have to take proper precautions, man.
Well, a lot of women stop having their periods.
Oh, really?
At least the first 5 years. That's when, because the way that our system is designed is it's all revolving around cortisol. So if cortisol goes up, hormone regulation goes down. So the way that is kind of being, I guess, trying to come into balance is you can't come into balance if cortisol is going up. And it's all it is just like a balancing act. And so you cannot find balance if you're just kind of revving up the engine constantly. And
my gosh.
And you can't get any oil changes or anything like that. The body will start screaming.
Yes.
And so everything starts popping gaskets and things start erupting. But if you ignore it, then that's kind of what happens down the road. Yeah. And so this last year as well, it was kind of interesting the way it all was connected. I was like reconstructing my identity with myself. And with that, I was detoxing a lot. So I went to a gentleman who I had on the podcast, and he basically takes your blood, looks under a microscope, and has like a TV screen right there. And he's showing you what your blood looks like.
What?
Yeah, right there. And so what he had showed me was I had, it'll show you parasites in your blood and a ton of infections. And so despite my years of working on myself, eating clean.
Yeah, because you're a healthy guy.
Yeah. So I still had infections in my blood that I've had dormant in my body for a long time.
Holy crap.
And so reading this on the screen, we had seen that, some of these infections like were really hard to get rid of. And so doing like a heavy detox for I didn't leave his house till I was clean. And so him and Haley and myself, he was telling me if we would have had a kid, it was a high possibility of having an autistic kid because of both infections that we had. So, and he's based on the fact that, in his belief that these infections are, like parasites and some other base infections like Lyme's they've been around since before mankind. So they're very intelligent and hard to get rid of.
Wow.
So his whole story too is that he basically cured his son of autism. So his son was sick when he was a toddler, and he had figured out it was caused from a lot of parasites and heavy metal toxicity. So he basically went on this long journey of trying to heal his son. And then he's been on the research board for autism for children for the last 20 years or something like that.
Wow. It's interesting you say that, because one of the classes that I took for the cancer thing, I don't want to, say what department, but a university or whatever, and doctors, they follow around a burn cadre for a department here in SoCal.
Okay. Probably LA City. I
was thinking I can't remember, it was 5 or 10 years to see because that's a lot of exposure. You're constantly burning, and even the dudes who teach at the fire academy, and it came out that all of the guys within that time that had children, it was like a 98% rate of autism or some type of birth defect.
Interesting.
Yeah, dude, it's
what's crazy is that one of the kids that was there when I was there, he had cancer. He was 9 years old, I think.
Wow.
And so he checked his blood full of parasites. Like you look on the screen, it's very interesting to see your blood cells.
Yeah.
And outside of it, you see these little like squiggly marks or, like kind of blobs surrounding, and they're eating the cells because it's eating all your nutrients and it's sucking the life out of you. So in 3 days, this kid looked like a different person. Like his skin color.
Oh, so he treated him.
Yeah. He treated him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was interesting to go to this guy and see what he does, and it's not cheap either. It was like $1,000 a day to go to this.
It's
but it's worth it, right? Like how much?
I look, 100%. I think Western medicine is a mess. I think it's full on about a money
you're a
grab.
medic, right?
Oh yeah, I'm still a medic engineer,
paramedic engineer.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I hate being a medic, dude.
You think you're gonna promote to captain?
Dude, I'm on the fence. I want to, and it's there. I keep getting encouraged to do it, which is cool. But I'm really close to possibly retiring. We'll see.
Oh, 20 years now?
Not even that, dude.
Really?
Because just other investments and things that I've had going are doing fine. And especially after having the kid, I'm kind of looking at the portfolio and some other things. I'm like, maybe I could leave early.
There's a lot of
it is what it
people
is.
who have that same mindset.
Yeah, my wife's awesome. She works. So we'd still have health insurance because she's Asian, dog. So she's like full business. Like she's like, I got a master's degree. I'm not gonna waste it. I'm like, hey, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying, if you don't want to work, you don't have to. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I want to. I mean, I just got my master's degree in August. I finished that. I've been contemplating going after my PhD. I just don't know if I want to put that much work in, because every, counselor in school that I've called and talked to, they kind of go over it with you. And I'm just like, damn. Like, that's a lot. Yeah. So we'll see. I don't know. I want to. I might, just before I dip out, do it for 2 or 3 years. I mean, it's a whole testing process, as you know, right. So it's very rigorous to get through it. Not impossible. But I'm just at a different point in life right now for myself. You talk about self-reflection for yourself. I have for the past, I would say, probably 4 or 5 years. I'm like, there needs to be something's missing. I need to change, because I've been, this is not selfishly saying or boasting, but many of the things that I've gone after, I've been able to achieve. And okay, people say, money. Okay, I've done well with money. Now what? I'm still not fulfilled. I'm still not happy. I still have the same problems. Who am I? What am I doing here on this freaking godforsaken earth, floating through space and time? And because there was a long time I was a selfish person, dude. I didn't care about anybody. I didn't care who got hurt. I did what I wanted when I wanted. Dabbled in things I never should have dabbled in, just to be happy. I mean, just like, okay, well, everyone else is kind of doing these things. I'll just go for it, Only to realize it just brings destruction to your life, dude, and so much drama and pain for other people. And realizing like how you treat people matters. How I react to things, the decisions I make, how we treat others is very important. And I didn't give a fuck. I'll just tell you right now. I really didn't care. I was just so over everything and burned out. I'm like, whatever, I'm going to do what I want when I want. And a lot of people got hurt out of that, dude, including my ex-wife. And there's a lot of regret there. And when I finally found myself just kind of like at the end of my rope, it was weird. Like, I remember laying in bed and I was thinking, damn, like, I got all this, like, I got things, I got stuff. I'm, what everyone, the world says is success. I got these properties and I got a nice truck, my motorcycle. I'm surfing all around the world, having a good time. And it's like, I am so fucking empty right now. I was like, I feel worthless. And that was for me a turning point. And that was the first time I prayed in a long time. And this is not me like forcing God or Jesus on anybody, but I needed something bigger, dude. I needed something way bigger than what was going on to me. And that was the first time I had prayed. I was like, look, man, who wagers with God, right? That's probably the dumbest thing you could ever do. But I said, look, if you can just take this pain out of my life, and if you can change my course and what's going on and give me a purpose, like, I'm yours, dude. I am. And I think from that time, it was about 4 years ago, it just kind of changed everything. I don't go to church every day. That ain't me, dude. but it's given me a good path of how to treat people and how to look at life from a different perspective instead of the here and now. And what people say is important. What truly is important is, how we treat others, love. How do I see myself? How am I treating myself? How am I treating my wife? Am I living a moral life? Because I wasn't living a moral life for a long time, right? You're just like this young fireman, like, well, okay, let's go do our thing, Ooh, let's have fun, And I don't know. I think in these years, it's changed a lot of me. There's still a bunch of people who don't like me, bro. I'll tell you right now. They know who I used to be, but it's having that change has been huge. It's been grounding. It's brought peace. And you can't put a price tag on peace, man. Honestly, you can't. To be able to wake up and have that confidence and that hope and that joy. And for me, I found that in my faith in Jesus, and it changed everything. Even my wife too, because she was raised Buddhist, and even for her, she hit a point and she changed because our relationship was going to be done. But I think it changed both of us and it brought us back together. And now we have a beautiful daughter, this awesome home, and our son's on the way. So, going through some of those phases in life and things I had done had brought regrets, but it also taught me some valuable lessons. And I think it's also turned me into, I think, going to be a good father, where it's like, that shit's out of my system. Like, I don't want to go down those roads ever again. And it's been good to just kind of stay low key and be to myself and with my family, and starting my day with exercise and running, because it's so good for your mental health, and to get out in movement and sun and to surf, and enjoying that with my dad, and then even my wife being down at the beach, to, cycling with friends and these people that I've come to know just in the cycling community. It's changed a lot, dude. It really has. It's brought more than success or money or possessions could ever do.
What about that emptiness feeling? Like how do you define that? Because that's a very common expression.
Yeah.
But like each person defines that differently.
That's a good point.
And I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I just love to hear your words on it.
It's maybe there's what is my purpose? What am I living for? It's almost like I kept striving. It's like, what's the next best thing? What's the next thing that's going to bring that fulfillment? I'm going to get a new truck. Okay, you get the new truck. Well, 2 months later, now it's not new, and you got mileage on it. Maybe there's a little scratch. It's like, well, fuck, this thing got old. Now I'm not happy. After years, it's just another truck, So that emptiness was, I think for me at least, it was finding something that was greater, that was going to bring peace and joy, because I had hit a point where nothing did. It like nothing, bro. There was nothing you could do. I had done the drugs. I had slept with all the women. I had done everything that I wanted to do. And I'm just like, this is fucking terrible. It's brought nothing but pain. But I think that emptiness is a longing that, at least for me, it wasn't going to be fulfilled by anything on this earth. There's nothing that was going to do it. By far, not. Like, it doesn't matter whether you're the millionaire on the street or you're the most poor and destitute. We're all looking and longing for something to fill that hole in our heart. And it's not in anything that we're going to do. You may find it for a little bit, but we're all going to come to a point where we're trying to search for truth of, who am I?
Yeah. 100%.
Why the fuck am I here? What's going, am I here just to go to work and pay bills and pay taxes, and what I'm saying, like just the everyday, like what do they call it, rigmarole of life? Or is there something greater going on? Is there a calling on my life? And when I say calling, it doesn't mean you're going to go out and be some big inspirational preacher or somebody who writes some big album and you're a huge hit or whatever. But a lot of times what we think is so insignificant is actually very important. How are we treating the people in our lives? How am I responding when somebody cusses me out at work, or they do something wrong, or somebody doesn't like me? Or how am I responding when I screw up? Am I going to that person and apologizing and say, you know what? I'm sorry, dude. I shouldn't have fucking said that. Like, that was rude. I don't want to be treated that way. I'm sorry. So I think that emptiness for me was only filled by having faith in Jesus. And whether people find that in something else, hey, that's totally cool. That's you. But I can just say, as from my life and seeing how my life has radically changed from then to now, It's 100% real. If you're searching for truth, you're always going to end up at the cross. Straight up. There's nothing else in the world, at least for me, that was ever going to fulfill that. And we look at my life. You want to talk about a fucking miracle, dog. I was doing some shit out of the country that I never should have been fucking doing. I mean, I could have been put in jail and never seen America ever again. Right? All because what? Oh, let's have fun. Let's just fucking chase the high. Let's do this, for like, why? What are we doing? Right? It's like, dude, I'm wasting away and wasting a life that could be used for something good. And when I say something good, it's like, yeah, like being a firefighter, we actually get to have a direct impact on humans. We get to give people second chances. Is it all the time? No, we run a lot of bullshit. We really do. But I think to me, it's being faithful in the small, because a lot of the small things add up to being something great. There's probably people in your life that through this podcast and what you do with Cambo and what you did for me with Cambo, that you've changed their life, and you may never hear from them again, but you have no idea, like, you had a profound impact. That's huge. That's absolutely important. I think we always get so stuck on, we got to do something big and great. And it's like, it's not about the big and the great. It's like, if you can change, instead of like, I want to change the world and make something big, why don't you start with changing one person's world? Start with the people around you, right? Let them see who, like, you know what? You're a real human. You struggled. Or you do struggle and you mess up, you do all this, but you still come back and you're grounded and you can realize, hey, I'm not perfect, but I'm trying my best, and I can apologize to you, or I can own up to my wrongs or whatever. So I think a lot of that emptiness, to come back to that, is I think it's a deep spiritual thing, at least for me. And it may not be for everybody, it is what it is. But for me, finding that faith has set me on such a good path that, like, to be where I'm at now, it's 100% not me. It really isn't. It's like I've been led down this path, and people have been put in my life to bring these opportunities. I'm just like, dang, dude, where's all this coming from? This is super rad. And to have, like, peace in the chaos. There's things that have happened in my life that have been devastating since then, that have been hard. Yet before, I probably wouldn't have handled it well. And it's like, we're going to be all right. God has a plan. Like, we're going to get through this. I mean, the Bible says it, right? Like, he doesn't promise you're going to have smooth sailing. He straight tells you, like, you will have trials and tribulations in life. You are going to have shit that happens to you that's unfair, that's hard. It could also be about your own mistakes. It could be terrible. You made a bad decision. But if you just trust me, I'm going to make a way out. We're going to get through this. And there's nothing else that offers that, at least for me, that worked. I tried fucking everything, dog.
Yeah, that void space, it brings a sense of uncomfortability for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I try to teach people to be comfortable in void spaces and empty spaces, because in that empty space, that's where there's an opportunity to meet yourself. And that's where we resist, because we don't want to face ourselves, because there's a lot of unprocessed grief. There's a lot of truths we don't want to face. There's a lot of reconciliation with our psyche. Yeah. And I think that's the beginning a lot for most people when we reach that point of empty feeling, because we don't want to feel empty. We want to feel whole, but we fail to forget we're already whole in the first place. Yeah. It's just the scaffolding that we've built that are not holding up the true parts of ourselves. Yeah. That needs to fall down, essentially. And then even like the walls we've built around our hearts and around our identities, the way we perceive reality, the way we perceive relationships, that have to come down. And breaking those walls down, it hurts. It's painful, only because we put it up in the first place, and we have to take responsibility for it. Yeah. So like, it's amazing. I've heard you talk about, your transformation a few times, and it's great, man, to experience change and take that change into application. Yeah. It's wonderful to watch, especially when you're becoming a father and all those things too, because I've seen a lot of people who they're in pain, and you give them the opportunity to change and they won't. Right. And I think that's where a lot of the problems are, really in our field of work, number one, and then also outside of this bubble we're in of the firefighter, first responder community. Yeah. It's a lot of people in general. Like, if you had just asked one person, hey, can you detox off your phone? Like, they would kick and scream in that process, myself included. Right. Yeah. And so I think leading into change is where the real, ripple effect starts taking its form, and it's, It's tough to face that, dude.
Oh,
We all don't want to face
hard.
it.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's incredibly hard because you have to deal with the real you. Right. And I did that by going through some serious counseling and doing EMDR and brain spotting, did Cambo with you. And like when you have to deal with, like when I had to deal with the true Tim Fisher of the things like how I was living, how I was treating people, the things that I was doing, it was almost, I remember thinking, oh my God, like how the fuck did I get here?
How was the EMDR? I'm curious about that.
Oh, it was great, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did quite a few sessions. Yeah.
How many sessions do you think?
I think I did 8.
Oh, that's a good amount.
I did a lot, dude. Yeah, because they, when I went in, I remember it was a call at work with, like my relationship, my wife, who was then my fiance, was like struggling hard. I'm pretty much done. But then I had a call with a kid that a mom had rolled over and like smothered him sleeping. I think he was like 6 months. And I was working in Irvine at the time. I always start my day with a run. I try to run around the state. I mean, granted, if it's a good area. But I try to get out. It's not the treadmill. I hate the treadmill. And I remember running, and there's this park there. And I remember hearing screaming. I'm like, man, what's all that screaming? And then the radio goes off. Run back to the rig. We go, and we get there, and the baby's just limp. She hands us the baby, and the father's losing it to the point where he's getting aggressive with us. So, I go in there to try to calm the father down. He's like, F you, cussing me out, and then we go to blows. Right.
You guys started fighting?
Oh, yeah. We went down. I gave him the corporate elbow and then choked him, and freaking, the police come and he's screaming and crying, and they wanted to arrest him. I said, don't arrest him. Like, don't. Like, I don't blame him at all. Like, this guy just lost his child. I would probably crack too and lose it. You're not going to press charge? I'm like, no, like, let this guy grieve, dude. Like, it's okay. And I remember getting back from that call, and I went back to finish my run, and I just started crying. Something came over me and hit me. I was like, that whole situation was just terrible. But I brought up other things. I was like, where's this all coming from? And I went to the captain. I'm like, get counseling team international here. Like, we need to shut it down, put us out of service. And I'm glad we did, because then my captain started talking, and my 2 firefighters, and they started saying, like, yeah, that was messed up. That was a tough call. And so it got them to speak up. And then that's when I was like, I think I need to get some help. And so I talked to the person that was there from Counseling Team International. They got it all set up. It happened within a day. And then I went in, and they were like, how long have you been on the job? I was like, I don't know, like looking 16 years or something like that. Like, you ever been to counseling? I was like, no, not at all. And they gave me a test. They're like, you have severe PTSD. We want to see you at least 2 times a week.
What did that test look like?
It was a bunch of, it was like a
questionnaire.
It was a questionnaire. Yeah, it was a long one, like probably 100 questions, I think it was. And then they talk to you. It's like an interview. And then after I did that, they're like, yeah, we got some shit to work on. But the interesting thing is, they don't start from that call.
Right.
They go back to your childhood. And that was wild to do that. Because then it's like, we went from childhood to, adolescence, teenager, to marriage, divorce, this and that, to other things I was involved in, to the event. And you start working, and you realize like how burying all that stuff and all intertwines. It's like, you got to handle each one separately, even to my brother passing away when he was 18. And I'm not even really dealing with that. And then going through those emotions and working on that for like a month or 2, and then continuing. So it was like, I was probably in some intensive therapy for well into 2 years, which is a good thing. But the hardest part in that was coming to the realization of who Tim was, the things Tim had done, and realizing, and like, I think that healing finally started coming out was like confessing it. Yeah, I did this. That's wrong. I treated this person this way. 100% wrong. I deserve that divorce because I did this. That's 100% wrong. And then you realize like those actions had such dire consequences and hurt people. Like, even talking about it now gets me choked up, because you're just like, fuck, I can't believe I lived that way. I can't believe I was that selfish. And then it comes down to, they start talking about, well, you got to understand there's certain things and why you start having these patterns of decision making and being so wired and, trying to find some type of happiness and feel good is because your job, like your cortisol levels are exhausted. Like you're just tired. You're looking for something to find happiness. And unfortunately I found it in too many other different things that were not good. And that's a bitter pill to swallow, John.
No, it's hard.
It's just straight. It's a motherfucker, dude.
That's why I always give mad respect to people who want to change.
Yeah.
And they want to work on themselves and actually follow through with it.
Yeah.
I would say about 75% people don't follow through with it.
Yeah.
The people I've tried to help out, it is tough, dude. So I really, tip my hat off to people who actually pull through and want to face themselves, because they call it a journey back to yourself. And so that's really all it is. And you want to get to who you are, who you believe you are. Yeah. And then even that, once you get to that part, there's still another chapter that has to continue, and then that chapter has to open up to something else. Yeah. And usually that's the reason why I ask, because it's very common for someone to start from childhood, because that's where all of our, our developmental ages, where we get programmed. And our parents, they didn't know any better. So they just program us the way they believe works. They're just making it up as they go, essentially. And we kind of make it up as we go. So, as you start to see the tapestry that's been created, like, wow, look at all this. And I pulled all these threads and it's all tightened up to this one point to where I'm here now, which is a lot of times it's suffering, essentially, right? To some extent. And it just doesn't feel right. You just know there's something not right. And I think that's where people start to ask questions like, who am I? Yeah. And I always pose this question for people when I'm working with them is, who are you? Do you know? And sit with that concept for 2 weeks and keep asking yourself every day and see what comes up around asking that question. Because when you ask that question, it really just, you start writing things down like, oh, I'm a firefighter, I'm a father, I'm this, I'm that. After about 10 minutes, you're pretty much done with that. But after that initial breaking point with just labeling the hats you wear, after that, the next day, the question poses something deeper. And the next day, you start realizing, wait, who am I? And you really end up in what I like to call like the fun house. You just walk into a bunch of mirrors and you're looking at yourself and you're like, oh, that one looks kind of weird. Oh, that one makes you look up and like skinny. And this one makes you look fat. And like, you start looking at yourself and it's a bunch of smoke and mirrors in the end. It's an illusion. So as you walk through all that, you're like, holy shit. Like, and you really just go through some of it, identity crisis, as like I was kind of explaining before, like identity reconstruction. Yeah. But when you go through that, values start to evolve, principles start to evolve, standards for who you are start to evolve. And these are just markers to keep you on the path of growth. That's all it is. Yeah. And aside from these false illusions you've created for yourself since birth, right? Yeah. And it's a really good concept. That's why I like to see, I'm very, very curious sometimes what clinicians do, because sometimes some clinicians don't do the best at diagnosing, because that's what they're doing. They're diagnosing you, putting the stamp on your head and like, all right, on to the next one. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. It doesn't 100%. Feel right. It's like herding cattle, essentially, of these PTSD, broken, wounded warriors who are wearing blue t-shirts and like staking people with needles and putting water on fire. You know what I mean? It's like, what else? Yeah. Yeah. It's funny you bring it, like, because I think, we're kind of in the same era in the 90s, being raised in a Calvary Chapel. And like, I look back on that, I tell people, I'm like, dude, that was such a weird era, dude. I mean, that's the whole reason I didn't care about my faith. I was like, I don't want any part of this, dude. This is crazy, dude. Well, especially going to the school we went to. That's what I was going to say. I told someone, I'm like, I feel like I was in a cult, dude. It's so wild, because truly, like, gosh, so many people want to say religion. It's not about religion. Like, religion's just rules, regulations, and rituals, right? And truly, like, when I dug deep into the Bible and who Jesus was, like, it wasn't any of that. He just went out and served people. And it's a free gift. He just says, look, repent and give me your heart. We'll figure everything else out after. You don't need to change. I'm going to help you through the way to change. But start with just give me your heart. And the best example I have of this, and I've spoken a few times on this at a few places. Do you know who Decimus is in the Bible? You don't really hear his name. Decimus?
Decimus. He's the thief on the cross.
Okay.
Okay. And he's up there. He's nailed to a cross, just like Jesus. And one of the guys on the cross is making fun of God or Jesus, and then the other guy says, truly you are the Son of Man. Remember me when you come into your kingdom. And Jesus said, today you'll be with me in paradise. Okay, that guy never tithed. He never went to church. He didn't go to freaking small group. He didn't get baptized. He didn't do any of those things. And it just tells you that in an instant of a moment, the Lord will be in your life and he can take over your heart and you're saved. That's it. All this other stuff with Western church and how we were raised, to me, I'm just like, dude, this is crazy. Some of it, dude. Like, why is this becoming theatrics? And you get up there, make sure you're giving us your money. The Lord's not going to bless you. Like, get the fuck out of here, dude. Like, come on. So you can get another boat? Like, come on. You have a 20,000 square foot home as a preacher. Like, how's that working out well for you, So like when I dug more into it, it's like I tell guys this a lot because I'm starting to get more guys asking me about it because I talk about my faith a little bit more, but not like obnoxiously. And I did in the podcast before we left, but I just tell them like, look, dude, like it's not about being polished. You see all this stuff, like you got to go to church and be all holy and look how perfect my life is, praying for you, brother. Like, no, look at Jesus when he was on the earth, who he chose his disciples. They were freaking fishermen. You don't think those are rough dudes? Like, those guys had problems just like we did, and he accepted them as they were. You look at the woman at the well, sleeping with all these different men. He's just like, look, I love you. Get out of here. Go sin no more. I feel like even like it is with the fire service, we as humans overcomplicate everything. Or like we do in the fire service, we over ICS stuff. It's like, go put the fire out. We don't have to build the ICS system. But it's like, dude, this is a free gift. It's not about all these rituals and all this. Literally, it's between you and the Lord. And it's no one else's freaking business. That's why I have had such a good connection with different firefighters because I'm still Tim, me, and I'm still can be rough with my speech at times, but it's like, I still believe in God. Doesn't mean I'm a perfect person? Absolutely not. I still struggle. And there's still things I want to go back to my old ways, but I don't. Do I still cuss? Yeah. Do I still say off-color jokes sometimes with friends? I do, but it is what it is. It doesn't make me any less of a person than you are, and the Lord loves us all the same. I mean, we're all so uniquely and wonderfully made, and I think people forget that. Like they're like, you, John, are a special human being because you were created in your mother's womb, and the Lord saw it happen. He made it happen. Like you are you. There's no other person like you, just like there's no other person like me or any of the listeners. And what supports that is the scientists found that vocal cords, there is not one vocal cord in any human being that ever matches. Everyone's vocal cord is unique to them. There is no other.
What about RFK Jr.?
Yeah. But I found that so crazy. I'm like, dude, that's beautiful. Like that is your voice and who you are. That is unique to John, just like it's unique to Tim or whoever else is listening, And I think people forget that. Why do you want to be like everybody else? Why do you want to, try to be? No one wants a copycat, as I like to say, especially in like music industry or podcasts or whatever. Like, be you. The way you were formed and shaped, the things that are on your heart are there for a reason, but it's up to you to seek that out. And you have to find it out. Why do you want to be like this other firefighter or this other cat? Like, make your career your career. Go after things you want to go after. If you just want to be an engineer be an engineer your whole career. Who gives a crap what anybody else says? Are you happy? Is that what you want to do? Great. Then do it to the best of your freaking ability. So sorry to go off on a tangent like that, but it's like, dude.
So have you ever heard of the concept of Christ consciousness?
No.
So Christ consciousness is essentially built on the what's tangible, which is frequency. So like frequency, you can measure them, right? And this is kind of helps people understand like a higher sense of somewhat spirituality, right? And essentially everyone has their own unique vibration, kind of what you're explaining as well. Like, it comes from the concept like each snowflake is unique in its own, but it's coming from the same source. And so the Christ frequency or the Christ consciousness is essentially it's something that's dormant within each human vessel. And within that human vessel, it ignites only if you unlock it. And the master key is through the heart. So the whole concept of Yeshua or Jesus the Christ, where he came to show people how to unlock this frequency that is dormant within each human being. And this comes from heart opening, essentially. And so by opening the heart, you have to work through the callousness and the manifestations of the false self who's derived yourself away from that space. And there's many other cultures who talk about this, like Native Americans called it Shante Ishta, which is like the center of the heart, or it's the one focal point of which is the axis of each human being. And so it's something that is palpable and it is attainable only through devotion, through the heart. And so there's just a lot of teaching around heart-centered awareness, heart spaces, and how this organ is beyond what we could imagine. And this is what many ancient teachings for Jesus the Christ had been trying to teach, is this in itself, that you are capable of unlocking this. However, like getting there is the journey, like a journey back to yourself. That's dope. Like this whole concept, right? And we had failed through, and this is coming from my own journey of life, because going through that same church that was cultish and teaching me everything against that belief that I can unlock that within myself was harmful, I think, and hurtful. And I know a lot of people who came from that facility or that church who are a mess, and because it came with a lot of like shame for yourself and 100%
a lot of shame, dude.
I think guilt, sin was like one of the main focal points of how we make decisions for ourselves. So I had learned from those years of developmental ages, and also going through puberty and things like that. Like I had learned to punish myself mentally and even emotionally, and I would shove things down, and then I would use these other mechanisms to kind of like cope with myself. And I had realized how harmful I had been as I got older and as I became a man, and how self-destructive I had become, because I had reached that point in my life where I was sitting in all my self-destructive behaviors and addictions and afflictions. However, like I didn't know what words to put to it, and I had to realize it was a timeline of events that led me to that one moment of feeling that way. It wasn't just an isolated event. And so taking ownership for the isolated event in itself was the beginning of journey back to myself.
God, it's so hard. Yeah. But dude, look where you're at now. Right. But like, I think that's what's going to be the hard part for, I'll just say from a man's perspective for most men, because what do we see in our culture, right? At least in the fire, be tough, be hard, freaking don't share your feelings and don't be weak, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you guys are just destroying yourselves.
Let me ask you this question. If anyone had ever come to you and said, hey, Tim, like I got a ton of stuff going on at home. Like my wife's going to leave me. I'm thinking of killing myself. Like, would you see that person as being weak?
No.
Exactly.
No.
So vulnerability is an illusion.
Of recent, 2 months ago.
So, right, in essence, right, anyone listening to this, right, men in general, this bravado, whatever mechanism of a mask we wear in this service, think about that same concept for yourself. If anyone coming up in the fire station and consoling with you, do you see that as weakness? The answer is absolutely no. Actually, it takes great courage to do that. So why do we believe that it is weak to be open with your emotions or to be open with vulnerability?
Do you think that makes the other person who is being told what's happening, like, deal with themselves and make them uncomfortable? Like they don't, what I'm saying? Does that bring up emotion to them that they have never felt before or refuse to, or keep pushing down? So it's like, stay away from that.
I think it's fear of humiliation.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Pride's a hell of a thing, dude. And a lot of us. I mean, I was very prideful for a long time. I think that holds a lot of people back, and it's sad that if someone's struggling, and I've seen it, people are making fun of them, or the coffee table at the firehouse is the worst. It's worse than high school, dude. Oh my God. The rumor's this and the rumor's that, blah, blah, blah. I remember asking
the soap opera.
Yeah. It was a captain. He's, oh, did you hear this? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, did you ask if you needed help? And it got quiet. Oh, well, no, I'm like, oh, so you don't know the full truth. Well, so I'm like, well, the guy's not here to defend himself. And it sounds like he needed help. So maybe you should give him a call. If you're going to talk about it, maybe you should try to help him instead. He didn't talk to me the rest of the shift.
A friend of mine had told me that gossip is witchcraft.
Really?
It's a form of like casting spells on another person, because you're talking about someone else who's not there, and you're deceiving someone else's perception about that person without that person being there. Yeah. So you're essentially altering reality for someone and their perception.
Dude, I've never heard of that. I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? I mean, dude, That's the one thing on our job field that just annoys the crap out of me is instead of trying to help your brother and sister, you tear them down. Like, how is that bettering anybody? I call that out so fast now. So freaking fast. I just think it's one, disrespectful, but two, okay, so somebody made a mistake or they did something wrong or you don't know what the hell is going on.
Mm.
Why are you going to tear them down when they're not here and spread things around that you don't know if they're true or not? It's better just shut the fuck up. How about that? Like, don't say anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've been at stations where they tear you down right in front of your in front of your face, dude.
Oh yeah. Oh, dude, totally. So I just don't agree with that anymore. And it does take courage for people to speak up and say that they need help because eventually, like, all of us are. We're all going to hit a point with something in this career or at home in your private life because the juggle between the two is very difficult. And you're going to want people on your side. You're going to want to have somebody that you can confide in, you know, and that you can tell the worst part of yourself and you know you're not going to be judged. And that's very hard to find. That is very, very hard to find. You don't want to just confide in anybody. That one's bit me in the butt a few times. And now it's like literally less than 3 people of like I can tell anything. And they're like, all right, well, let's figure it out. Don't do that again, or this has happened. So maybe it's a cultural thing. I don't know, but it's just sad because in a place where we preach family and brotherhood, sisterhood, and we take care of each other, there's a lot of ways that we don't. I mean, even 100%. For people who are leaving one fire department to go to another, and next thing you know, they're getting treated like trash. What the heck's that about? So you're going to get upset because somebody's leaving your fire department to go somewhere else that's probably better for their future and their family? What's wrong with that? That's business. It's the business of the fire service. People can leave and go when they want. Well, you should be devoted here and this and that. Bullshit. If something better comes along, I'm out. It is what it is. Welcome to life. You know, that's the business of the fire service. People are going to come and go, lateral, whatever. Wish them the best. Good luck, you know? So how that changes, brother, I have no idea because that's just the way, you know, people and humans are. But I think we can handle that at least individually in the firehouse together, you know, as far as how we're treating people, you know. I just don't dig that, man.
Personally for me, I think it's the solution is a journey back to yourself.
Oh, 100%.
That journey back to yourself, it helps you evolve past all the mundane bullshit.
Yeah.
And I've noticed it for other people, you know, and really it instills more better leadership. It instills more of a family environment within those walls of each firehouse. But taking that journey back to yourself, like I said, takes courage, man. So I truly believe it starts with yourself owning it to your own bullshit and then taking responsibility and then acting upon it. Yeah. And acting really is an application of what you've learned through understanding, self-realization, and taking that ownership is the hardest part. But all the knowledge you've accumulated over your life, you know, listening to podcasts and whatever, it's all just waste if it doesn't come into application.
Yeah.
And that's the cold hard truth.
Well, I can tell you right now, it's like we said before, it ain't easy, but it's worth it. What I have now with my wife and my children and just the friendships I've cultivated and even family that I've reconciled with, because there was probably a solid 1.5 years I blocked my family. I didn't talk to any of them. I didn't give a crap. I do my own thing. And then I remember realizing like, wow, like my parents lost a son in 2004 in a car accident. And here's another one just blocked. Like, I remember thinking about how much that hurt them. And that just bummed me out so much. I remember just going to their house, unblocking them and just saying, hey, I'm sorry. You know, and I remember breaking down and hugging my mom. I was like, I was lost. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have blocked you guys. And I really want to reconcile things and be around with the family and on holidays and all that. And dude, it has changed everything so much for the better. The relationship that my mom has with my wife, the relationship my sister has with my wife, and then even now my daughter, and seeing, like we went over there yesterday and they were playing with my daughter and just seeing the joy on my parents' face. And you can't put a price tag on that, man. To see my parents holding my child is, you know, it's worth its weight in gold and more, dude. There's no amount of money or possessions that will ever touch that joy that I have felt yesterday and continue to feel throughout life now. And I remember seeing a tweet and people were like, well, I guess X, they still call it a tweet. I don't know. Elon Musk tweeted, "Money doesn't really bring happiness," and a sad face. And you're talking about a guy who's got all the money in the world, the richest man in the world. He's got it all, and he is saying it like he's not happy. He's probably or he's struggling with something, right? Whatever it may be. And that's why I say, like we were talking earlier, like, man, all these possessions, like it is a blessing, and I don't want to take it for granted. And it's so great to be where we're at. But you hit this, at least for me as an adult, like getting up in years now, being 40, it's like, man, that true happiness that I've found hasn't come from things. It's just come from the true importance of my family, my heritage, the gift of a child. It's amazing, and I don't want to screw it up. I want to be present, and I want to be there, and I don't want to get stuck at work. And am I being a good father? And I'm questioning all these things. And, being able to, last week, my wife was gone for 4 nights. I put her to bed, and putting her to bed, she's, sitting in a chair in her room, and she's just smiling in her pajamas. And she gets tired, rubs her eyes, and then puts her head on my chest and falls asleep. And I'm just like, I remember sitting there, and I just closed my eyes, and I just said, thank you. And I'm trying to get emotional, but it's like, I'm sorry, man, but I still don't feel like I deserve it, from who I was to who I am now, and the fact that I can still be blessed with so much and have all this, and have this daughter that has brought so much to my life and so much joy and love. And I just sat there and I just said, thank you. That's like all I could say, because I was just I wish I could put into words what it means to me to have this family, and to see how far I've come, and to see how far my wife has come, and how she's changed, and how we came back together and we worked things out, and now we're married, and like our relationship is just so much different now. It's so good, and it's pure, and it's so open, it's so honest, and we still have our arguments and different things at times. No relationship's perfect, but to be on the same path together and have that same vision in front of us. And now we have this daughter, and then our son is coming, and man, it was like, again, I just couldn't help but sit there and just say thank you and shed some tears, because fuck, man, like to be who I was, and the addictions that I have, and things, how I was living, to be where I'm at now and still have a job and a home is a straight miracle, dude. Like, thank you, God, bro.
Well, that right there, you just having a heart opening, like time and space collapses all in that one moment. Yeah. It's like nothing matters just from that one single heart opening. Yeah. But why is it that we close our hearts, contract most of our lives?
That's a great question, man. I mean,
I think it's just we were never taught how to do it, and we try to figure it out on our own merit through survival mechanism.
Yeah.
And when we live in survival, we are unable to have the right tools and the compass to guide our life, and I think when you are in survival, you just base most of your decisions off fear. Mm-hmm. And through fear, we create walls, we create protection. And by that point, most people can't even reach you, the true self, the true version of who you were born to be in. Yeah. And, I'm still on that road of deciding how I can open up my heart more. That's my goal. And I was just with my mom today, and like this morning she left and she spent the night, and I was just like, dude, like, why am I contracting right now with her? Because she was bugging me. She was asking me a ton of questions, and she's just my mom, yeah, but I noticed the resistance within myself, and that's just something for me to work at. And, I just accepted the fact that I was in that state, and it's just like, I think I can improve on it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, but before, I would have really just avoided that and just stuffed it deep, just open up my vessel and just stuff it, and not let that ever come out, because I didn't know I was stuck in survival mechanism, and I based all my decisions off of avoidance, and not wanting to face it.
I think most of us are in survival mode just through this career and exhaustion, but even going back and realizing like how I was raised kind of sucked. It wasn't good at times, right? Like, okay, we cry. I'll give you something to cry about. Don't cry. Okay, so I can't have emotion. Right? I didn't know that those things that and this is not to say my parents are terrible people, because again, they were trying to figure it out too. You got two people raised different ways. My mom's black, raised in the South in the 60s, 50s. My dad was a white dude surfer raised in Long Beach from 1941, right? You're talking about like two different eras and then coming together. And even when they got married, an interracial marriage in 78 still wasn't very popular. Even, when they moved to Lakewood, they were still getting people looking at them like, what the heck? But so I handle them with grace now. I know they were trying their best, but even how things were happening, it's like, what they would say to us, and they're arguing and yelling, and it puts you in this survival mode. You don't realize, it's kind of like you said, you carry that through your life. You start realizing like, I'm shut down because I don't want to get hurt. So I'm blocking people off. But by doing that, I'm blocking my heart. I'm blocking other things. And now I'm just trying to fill it with other things that are just making it worse, And so it really, I think going through that and going back to the beginning and working through everything up into that event and still going to therapy now, there is an openness that has come. It's almost like, it's like this lost key was found, and they found this deep chamber in my heart that had been closed off for since I could ever remember. It was like it was unlocked. And it just brought this flood of emotion where I don't mind being emotional now. I don't, I listen to my wife more. We have better conversations, and there's this openness with her that's way more tender than I used to be. And even towards my daughter and family. And I love it. I love it because it also helps you process the bad times, I think, to me, even better. Instead of out of like, being out of your wits and survival mode and making rash decisions, we're going to have hard times and things are going to happen and it's going to be unfair. But I feel like I process and handle it so much better because it's almost like I'm full circle, got everything working in motion instead of just trying to be strung out all the time and just try to figure everything out, man.
Well, you're reaping the benefits of working on yourself. Like you are seeing in real time what it looks like for someone who just chips away at things little by little. And not that to say that it's easy, but now you get to look in the past and be like, holy shit, who was I?
Yeah. Dude.
And who was that dude who just like, but you can see also it was just a version of you that was hurting.
Yeah.
And like in the end, you can have compassion for yourself by looking back and be like, dude, he didn't know any better. Like, I don't know what he would have done. I don't expect him to even know. And I think when we start to look back on our life too and see like, holy shit, like I can have compassion for that version of myself and still know that I never was broken in the first place. I was just a bit ignorant to not making the right decisions. And it all came from being deeply hurt and not wanting to face emotions like unprocessed grief. And like one of my really good friends, I always say this on the podcast because he brought it to such a great point, was like PTSD, John, is just a lot of unprocessed grief. And how you use that and how you get to process that is up to you. So you can use all these different medicines. You can go to men's groups. As long as you get to that point to getting to the core of those tears, you're still going to walk in this world just like a zombie. You're just going to be a non-player character in this game. And just know that once you get to that grief, that's when the game board changes. Yeah. And as soon as you start to realize that, it takes, I think, mentors, friends who have gone down that road who can show you the way. But, just through deep conversations like this, people can be like, man, I don't have any other friends or mentors to show me, but you can start by just asking yourself that simple question. Who are you? Do you know? And from there, it'll lead you down the path to people who can be more mentors and teach you, who have gone down that road. And it all starts with that small spark of possibly being curious about the decisions you have made in your life or the behaviors you've accumulated through just years of pain. And through years of pain, you get to a point where you're like, I can't take this any longer, you know, and then you start biting back. And that's usually what they say, like hurt dogs bite, because through punishment and the whip, that's when the dog says like, fuck you, like give me my food or I'm going to bite the shit out of you. And that's kind of like the cold hard truth in it all. But it's so true. If you're going to raise an animal, like, and you treat them by the whip, yeah, they may listen to you at some point, but it's unpredictable if they're going to bite you or not.
You are wise beyond your years, my friend. Yeah. Well, and it's good to talk about this because unfortunately, like suicide is way up there in first responders, fire service. And it's sad and it shouldn't be. And I've had to field a few phone calls with dudes who are in some pretty tough spots. And And I remember actually the few that I have and getting to their house and chatting with them and just seeing them break down and cry like, man, I haven't cried like that in years. I'm like, yeah, you need that, man. You got to release some of that sometimes, you know? And like, how do we, I just hope we can combat that more in the fire service. Cause any day above the dirt's a good day. It's okay to not be okay. Like we are going to suffer. We're going to have some real fucking hard times. It comes for all of us, but you're here for a reason. There's no one like you, like you are uniquely and wonderfully made. There's a purpose for you here. Sometimes you get so far down that dark hole, it's hard to see. And you got to do the work to dig yourself out. And that is like we talked about, it's coming to figure out who am I, and making those hard decisions to change and sticking with it is the hard part. And, I've seen a lot of success with some guys that I've worked with. It's been pretty freaking awesome. The last one I'll tell you is a fire chief of a fire department. Messaged me on Instagram, and he's like, "Hey, I listened to one of the message from Night of Hope, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "Oh," I was like, "Cool." And I didn't know he was a chief. He's like, "Hey, can I call you?" And I'm thinking, I don't know who you are. This is kind of weird. Cause some people have Instagrams or social media. It's like, they don't have anything up of work or whatever. You're kind of like, who is this guy? Like, I don't know who you are, dude. We're not friends. But I thought, well, whatever. Yeah, I'll give it to him. And we ended up talking for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours. And we're chatting, and this dude was in a bad way. And what's wild to me, John, I'm thinking, bro, you're like the number one dude. You're probably pulling like $300,000 a year. Like, what do you got to worry about, right? And dude, going through a divorce, different things. He was having some other issues, and all I told him was, like, look, man, I know you're in a bad spot right now. And I said, the only thing I can do for you right now is I can be on this phone. But I said, let me just pray for you. This is the best thing I can offer you right now. Then we talked. I said, here, call these numbers. I said, unless you guys have some at your department, I said, you need to get into counseling and figure this stuff out. But I said, the heart of the matter is it comes down to you needing to change. No one's going to do the work for you. I said, it's a bitch. It's hard. It hurts. I said, you're going to have more tears and you're going to relive some pain. But I said, it's the best thing that you're ever going to do. Well, year passes by, or I think a year and a half. And he sent me a text message. It was a picture. It was him and his wife. And I was like, oh, I'm like, hey, you guys are still married. He said, yeah. He's like, you were right. I went through the counseling, this and that. She went through, blah, blah, blah. They ended up actually both attending some church. They became believers, and they're involved. And now they're happy doing her thing. He's off SSRIs and some other things. And I was just kind of like, shit, it worked. Like, right on, dude. So, like, being available and talking to people and being able to be vulnerable like that, I do think it's very important. But also, like, people need to understand, like, change is a bitch, and it's not easy because we're human, and we get stuck in being comfortable and routine and doing the things that we do to bring joy and to get that dopamine hit. And to bring that change it takes discipline, and it really takes the wherewithal to know who you are, but who you can be as far as who you, like, what you were and what you're capable of. But also, like, you don't need that to move on and live a better life and do good. Like, you can change. Anybody can change. It's all right to be screwed up, messed up, make mistakes. Biggest thing, did you learn? Look within yourself to figure out where you need to change, move forward, dude, and get past it. It's not impossible, but it's a motherfucker. It's just the reality of it.
Well, the human tendency is to just fight tooth and nail until we get to the very edge. And for some reason, I mean, myself included, I love playing with that edge. Dude, yeah. I love playing with the edge. There's so much adrenaline that comes from playing with that edge. It's a drug, dude, playing with the edge. But that the fight to just not want and to resist and be rigid is really, it's self-harming in a sense. But every human being, especially in the Western world, we love to just resist it until we are at our wit's end. And have you ever seen there's a image depiction of the devil? Have you ever seen that card? It's like, I think it's a tarot card. It's the devil, and it shows like Baphomet, and it has two individuals, a male and a female, at the feet of Baphomet, right? Yeah. And what's interesting about that card is that they're chained up by the neck, but that chain comes back down, and it's a ball and chain to themselves. So it's like this interesting depiction of the devil. It's like you are chaining yourself, but you're free already.
Oh my gosh. Dude.
So like that's the illusion.
Yeah.
That we
I've never
believe.
looked into detail of that. Yeah. That's really good. You're such a smart dude, bro.
Well, I have been told by many other people and taught by many other people like these things, right? And what I had noticed through that was, we are only enchaining ourselves and we only encage ourselves when in the end you're already free. That's the illusion. That's the paradox in it all.
Yeah.
So the concept is like free yourself.
Yeah.
But you're already free.
Right.
So what's going on here? And you have the moment to have that leap of faith and to do whatever you want. But what's holding you back is the question. And it's just our own selves, dude. We got to face. Journey back to the self, brother.
Dude, yeah. The mind is a powerful thing. Because I had someone, the other day.
Well, the mind's powerful, right? But the heart supersedes the mind.
I'm 100% on that one. But the guy, he asked me, he's like, man, you don't care what people think of you. I'm like, no, I could care less, bro. I've been through too much life to realize like people may not like you. People may, because we hear this all the time in the fire service. Your reputation, or what are the guys going to say?
Right.
The guys, this and that. And I told him, I was like, bro, I could give a fuck what any fireman thinks about me. And I don't mean this to be mean, but it's like, you guys are a bunch of nobodies. You're only somebody when you have a fucking uniform on, which is great. We have a job to do and it's cool. I'm not trying to talk down on you, but like, why are you going to give weight to what these people say when they have their own mess and troubles in life going on? When I go home, like none of those guys, the 1,200 personnel we have, do you think any of them call me when I got hurt when I was off?
No,
nope. Fucking single call, bro.
Right. Same.
So it's just kind of like, I had to get to this point where I realized like, it truly doesn't matter what anybody thinks, because most people are afraid to step out and do their own thing and go after things or work on themselves because they're afraid of, well, what are they going to think? I mean, look at social media, right? People only put out the best, right? Now, we don't want a social media with people putting out the
like
worst.
Facebook bombs,
yeah.
Smiling.
Yeah, dude.
Just drowning in their glasses of wine.
Yeah, and then you don't realize like they're about to get divorced or this is going on behind the scenes and this and that, but everyone sees the best. But and what I try to tell a lot of people is, because everyone's like, what's your secret to your podcast and your businesses and success? I'm like, bro, I don't have a secret. I just do it. I don't wait for anybody, and I just go for it. I don't care what anybody thinks, because everyone's always worried. Oh, well, what if people think this? That looks stupid. This and that. What if you fail? I'm like, yeah, but what if you succeed? What it was on the other side of that success? Or maybe in some of the failures I've had in business and other things I've pursued, I learned some great lessons that I took into other things I did, and it made me successful. So I would say, like, forget other people and what someone thinks about you at work, this and that. Who cares? Work on yourself. Go after the things that you want to go after, because you got one shot at life. Like, it's here and gone. How many times when we go to work, we pretty much see someone die almost every shift, right? Mm. You have the mortality in life is in front of your eyes. And like, if no one hasn't figured this out yet, nobody's getting off this earth alive. You have a beginning date, which is your birthday, and you know what it is. You have no idea when your end date is, right? And you always hear that dash in the middle, but it's true. You got one shot at it. So you're going to live your life in fear, worrying about what other people think and trying to please them? Or are you just going to do you and do your best and go after things that you feel called to do? Because you never know where it's going to lead to. I mean, even just from doing this film that we just did, it's brought so many contacts of people like, hey, we can help. We can do this. Hey, have you thought about doing that? Hey, maybe you could be a host for this. I'm like, dude, I don't know. Whatever. But like, it's not worrying about what people think has actually helped me to change and go after certain things, because it truly doesn't matter. At the end of the day, like, none of these people at work are going to be at my funeral, right? I mean, if I live to 70, 80 years old, we're all going to be retired off doing our own thing and having our grandkids and all that. But I mean, who cares what somebody thinks? I hear that all the time. Well, the one guy that was confiding in me, well, people are going to think this. And I'm like, who cares? It doesn't matter, dude. You need to get help. And I said, our conversation, it lives and dies here. I'm not going to tell anybody what we just talked about. Well, this guy knows that. I'm like, bro, who cares? Go get help, do what you need to do, better yourself, and come back. I said, your actions and coming back better are going to speak volumes over what anybody has bad to say about you.
It's kind of like the memento mori concept.
Yeah.
Remember, you will die. And there's on the counter of memento mori, there's called amor fati, which is love of one's fate.
Oh, wow.
Like you are so infatuated and enamored by your own love of your own fate that you don't hold fear, nothing to hide, nothing to fear. And you walk through life a warrior because of that. Yeah. And true warrior, like the warrior's heart is that in itself, walking through love of who you are. And that's what a true warrior is, a warrior with compassion, receptivity, creativity, nourishment. Those are warrior qualities, you know, yeah. And with those qualities comes courage and the ability to fight in war if it's need be. But we fail to fall in love with ourselves, you know. Like I had this concept with myself, like I had to fall back in love with my mother. You know, it was a very strange experience. You know, but in the end, like it was a rebirthing of a version of myself through the warrior's heart. But it wasn't an easy road because I had to walk through what I was hiding from and what I was in fear of. And that was like the path, you know, back to a relationship that's now rebirthed with my mom.
Yeah.
And I think we had forgotten, you know, and so we just have to remember. And I think most of that is that's what it is. Remember how to ignite the Christ consciousness within, because it's already there. It's never been gone in the first place.
Dude, the kingdom of heaven is within us, dude. We're made in his image. I mean, it's right there. And it's funny you say there was a guy. So I have this tattoo, memento mori, on here.
Oh, that's right, dude. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So I have
the same thing as well, memento mori on this side.
I got this with a couple other dudes that I was working with doing. I haven't talked about this, and I probably will in this next season, but I'll be real careful just because I signed some NDAs, but
NDAs.
Yeah, there
liability.
Well, yeah. So short of it is, I came up on a car accident at like 2 a.m. coming back home from Huntington Beach. Bars closed down, whatever. Well, it was this blacked out SUV turned over, like I just rolled up on it, dude. So I'm like, oh god, cool. Pull these people out, help them. Anyways, well, I didn't know this dude that I helped. He had like, there was bodyguards in there. I'm thinking, well, this is pretty trippy. Pull him out, help him out. I was like freaking ripping his shirt off to like do a tourniquet on a dude, help him out. You know, CHP came, all these people. And he eventually, hey, what's your name? This and that. I'm like, oh, my name's Tim, dude. It's all good. It's like, I'm a fireman, I'm a medic. Like, this is what we do. No worries, man. Like, I hope you guys heal up good. Take off. Well, I get a phone call. Dude is a very, very well-to-do human being with some power. And he invited me to come to his spot, his house that is here in SoCal. Massive, a lot of security. And he's like, hey, I know you're working full time, but if you want, every so often when I travel, do these things, I want you to be a part of my team and be our medic. I was like, bro, I wasn't in the military, but are you sure? He's like, no, I really like, thank you. I want to give you an opportunity. And the steward was paying me under the door. And I did this for 4 years. And each day I was working with this guy, like straight up $4,000 cash done. Right. And we all on that team had this memento mori tattoo. And one of the guys, one of his head security guys, I asked him, like, dude, how do you guys like stay so aware? And like, I know you guys have been in some crazy situations, because I traveled with him. I went overseas and some other things at certain times, and saw a lot of shit that I really wish I didn't. But he said something to me that really stuck out. The head of his security, and this guy was, I can't remember what part of the military, whether he was a SEAL or Green Beret or whatever it was. And just very nonchalantly, he's like, if you remember you're already dead, you can do anything. I was like, damn, bro. I'm like,
he's got some truth to it.
I mean, I was like, oh, geez. I'm like, okay, cool. That just for some reason always stuck out to me, because he was just like, we're dead anyways. Where it's not, none of us are getting out of here alive. Go for it. You know? And that was an interesting time, because I was making some big cash working with this dude, but I was witnessing a lot of things. I was just like, what the hell did I get myself into, bro?
I'd like to end on that. Yeah. We're pushing up to 2 hours now.
Oh, my bad. No, you're
good.
Yeah, it was, that's a whole nother story. I gotta be careful what I say with all that, because it's wild. But yeah, I remember him saying, like, you're already dead anyways. Go for it. Okay.
Yeah, man. 100%, dude. I truly believe in that. So, memento mori, you will die. Thanks, Tim, for coming on, brother.
Oh,
pleasure to have you.
No, dude, thank you.
Your family here.
So. Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's so cool to see the studio, what's happened with it, and how far you have come. And I'm proud of you, man. Keep
Thanks,
going,
man.
dude. It's freaking cool, dude.
Yeah, man.
And then you're coming on ours because we're starting back up in a week. So
I am ready, dude. I'm ready to have the halftime show on the Let's Go podcast.
yeah, the halftime show.
Yeah, everyone. Tim's the co-host. Yeah, it's you and
Me and Jordan.
Jordan. Yeah,
I work with
you're
him.
on the Let's Go podcast.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one who helped me out to even start Grab Lives and gave me all the pointers I needed. So check out Tim's stuff and go to his station and bug him and go ride the fire engine with him.
Yeah, come say hi, man. I'll give you a tour.
Thank you everyone for listening today. I love you guys. Take care.